Today on our 2015 Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck hitch, part number C607-604. Here's what your hitch looks like when it's installed. What's going to set this apart from other hitches is it has a dual locking pin. Another thing that's going to set it apart is this rod. The handle for your locking pin can be put on the passenger side or the driver's side. This hitch is going to have a nice powder coat finish to resist corrosion and rust. Another great feature about this hitch is you can have full bed access. Whenever you're not using your hitch ball, you can see the grooves in the side here. There's a pin down inside. When you drop this down, it's going to rest below the line. It's also going to come with a cap so it sits flush. Also has a little pull handle. When you're ready to use it, simply flip it over, slide it into place, lock your handle. Now to use our handle, you're simply just going to pull out, twist. When you're ready to lock your ball into place, pull out, twist back, and let go. This hitch is going to have a 30,000 pound max tow capacity. Your ball size is going to be 2 5/16. You're also going to have spring-loaded safety chain hooks. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get this installed. To begin our installation, we went ahead and removed our spare tire. Now we're going to remove the heat shield. We'll be using a 1/2 inch socket. We're going to be removing 2 bolts. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to lower our exhaust, give us a little bit more room. We'll take some lubricant and we're going to spray her down our hangers. We're going to have 3 of them that we're going to remove. This one, and you're going to have 2 up toward the front. Now we'll just take a pry bar and we'll start prying one end off. Next, what we need to do is we need to cut out this section of this heat shield. Stay on the inside of this support beam here, and you're going to have another support beam up here. You want to stay on the back side of that. So we're going to be cutting out the center section. I'm just going to use some tin snips to go across like this. Now you're going to find up at this end, it might be a little hard with tin snips, so what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a cutting wheel on it. Once you have that cut, you can remove it. Next, we're going to remove our fender linings. We'll be using a T15 star bit. You're going to have several screws along the inside of the fender wall that you have to remove. Once you have all your bolts removed, we're going to start on one side. It might be easier toward the front here. You're going to pull it out like this, and if you pull down on the corner and get the one side started, pulled out from underneath here, you can just work your way around. And we'll just set that aside. And then you're going to repeat that same process on the other side. Next thing we're going to do is on your underbed rails, the inside of these holes are threaded. We're going to take a 1/2 inch tap and we're going to clean out those holes from any paint or anything else that may be inside. Once you have your holes tapped, you're going to want to take some lubricant, spray in there just to make sure you get the threads cleaned. And you're going to do that with all the holes. So now we're going to put our rails in, our underbed rails. You can see one of them has a notch cut out in it. What that's for is that's to go over the gas tank. What we want to do is we're going to slide it in on top of our frame. Once we get it in, we're going to turn it up like this. You want to make sure that the holes are on the bottom. Then we're going to do the same thing with this one. which is going to be the one toward the back of the vehicle. Now what we want to do is this support beam that's going across the center of the bed, you want to make sure you're staying in front of it toward the cab, across the frame. Now we'll flip our rails up. A pair of channel locks may help. Like that. Next, here on our driver's side, we're going to take our frame bracket. You want to make sure this long end is facing toward the back of the vehicle. What we're going to do is we're going to take the crossbars that we put in, push it all the way up against this support beam, and when you set this bracket in place, it should line up with this hole and this hole on the frame. Then we're going to take your hex bolt, a split lock washer, and a flat washer, and we're going to thread it into the crossbars that we put in. Then we're going to take our front one, slide it up against the other side of our bracket. We'll do the same combination, thread them together, and you're going to do that same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Next, what we need to do is we need to get our holes to line up with our side bracket. You can see it's a little bit off. Now you can see here what I did is I just took a C-clamp to clamp them together because I want these two side by side to make sure that my holes line up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pull wire. I'm going to go through this front hole here and come out of this hole. I'm going to take a spacer block. I'm going to feed it into the hole like this. We'll take our 5/8 bolt. And we only want to thread this on about halfway onto that spring. And we're going to have to push this bolt in backwards. So we're going to put the head in first. Push it in. Pull our wire through like this. And then we want to thread off the wire. If you just pull it off, you're not going to be able to use it again. So we want to thread it off. We have 3 other bolts we have to do. And we'll take a flange nut, thread it into place like that, and we're just going to hand tighten it right now. Next, we're going to have to take our pull wire. We're going to go through that hole, and it's going to come out a hole on the inside of the frame. So to make that a little easier, I just took some airline tube, and I'll take my pull wire underneath the truck with me. Next, I'm going to take the pull wire, I'm just going to push it into the tube. You want to make sure when you pull your airline tube out that you leave your spring end showing on this side. Next, take a spacer block and put it on the spring first. Drop it into the hole. And again, we'll take our 5/8 bolt, put it on about halfway. And this one you can just drop in the hole. Like that. Next, we'll take our pull wire, pull our wire through like this. I've gone ahead and removed the pull wire. Next, we're going to put our flange nut on. Then you're going to repeat that process on the other side of the vehicle. Next, I'm going to take a 15/16 socket. I'm going to tighten these 2 brackets that are on my frame first. And repeat that on the other side. Then I'm going to take a 3/4 inch. I'm going to tighten these 2 bolts on both sides of the vehicle. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put our template in place. There's going to be an F with an arrow. That means front of vehicle. Next, we'll take a small drill bit and we're going to drill a pilot hole. Once you drilled your pilot hole, we'll remove our template. Next, we'll take a 4-inch hole saw and we're going to make this hole bigger. With this being exposed metal, you want to take some paint. You can use clear coat. This being a black bed, I'm just going to use black spray paint, and I'm going to cover that to help prevent any other rusting. With your gooseneck hitch, you can see one side has more plate on it than the other. You want to make sure that this small side is toward the back of the truck. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up over top of our exhaust first. Get a couple bolts in to hold it into place. For hardware, we're going to take our 1/2-inch bolt, split lock washer, and a flat washer. We're going to put them in all the remaining holes. Next, we'll take a 3/4 inch socket and tighten all of our hardware. Go ahead and tighten everything down. Once you have all your hardware tightened down, we're going to torque it down to the specification of the instructions. So we're going to start in this middle section here underneath the truck. Next, we're going to torque down our plates on the side of our frame. Next, we're going to torque down our bolts going into our cross beams. We're going to do that on both sides of the vehicle. Next thing we're going to do is in our 2 holes that are in the center on both sides, we need to drill a hole in each one of these for our safety chain. Now our hole is going to be 1/2 inch. I'm going to drill a pilot hole first. Try and get it as center in this hole as I can. Again, we're going to take a little bit of paint. Just spray the inside of the holes here. Take our safety chain rings or loops. We'll drop them down through the holes. Next, we'll take our springs that are included in our kit. We're going to put a washer on first. We'll put the spring on. Follow it with another washer. And a lock nut. You're going to do that same thing with the other one. Next thing we want to do is we want to tighten these nuts to where they're flush with the bottom of the U-bolt. So we'll take a 3/4 inch socket. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to slide in our handle. We want to go through the holes. If you look from the side of the truck, and you can do this on a passenger or driver side, if you look through the side in this groove in the bracket, you'll see little holes. You want to make sure that rod goes through those holes. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this larger spring, 2 washers, and my pin, my lock pin. First, I'm going to put on 1 washer. I'm going to put on my spring. This. I'm going to take my locking pin. There's a large hole at the top. That's where our locking rod is going to go into. And what you want to do is you want to line up this hole right here in the rod with that hole in the pin. Once you have that lined up, you're going to take your small bolt, the nut that comes with it, and feed them through like that, and install your nut. Next, we'll take a 7mm socket and an 8mm wrench. The 8mm is going to be the nut side, 7mm is going to be the bolt side. And we'll tighten up our nut and bolt. Now we'll reinstall our exhaust. We're going to start with our most forward hangers first. Again, probably make it a little bit easier if you're spraying down with some lubricant. Next, we can put on our back one. We're going to install our heat shield. Next thing we'll do is we're going to put our fender wells back in place. Next thing I'm going to have to do is we're going to trim around this for this handle to slide all the way out. So I'm just going to use a razor knife. Finally, finish up our install. We'll install the spare tire. We're not going to it this time for video purposes. And that'll do it for the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck hitch, part number C607-604 on our 2015 Chevrolet Silverado HD. Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com and leave a comment if you have any questions.